going to our friend's Jim's place. We put a floor and some rockers and some bottom of the quarters on a 57 Oldsmobile Rocket 88. We just had breakfast. Me and Jolene did our breakfast run, and now we're going to Jim's place. We want to check out the progress, what's going on with his car, and to come out and visit. It's Saturday, and that's what we thought we'd do. We'd take a run out, see how Jim's making out with his car. We'll soon find out because we'll soon be arriving. But it's been nice coming for a drive. I like driving the 62 around. It wasn't funny this morning, but it was kind of weird. We were driving along, and I don't know, we had a crow come kamikaze at us right in the front of the grill of the car. Give it a little bend. I guess it didn't hurt too much. It just pulled it out a little bit, but it's just kind of weird that a crow would fly into us. Hey, one crow flew over the cuckoo's nest. We're coming up on Jim's place right now, eh? He's got a very iconic looking house with the silo on the building of the barn. You know what I mean? It's very iconic looking. Being iconic, it's a good picture. Let's go and see how Jim's making it. Not sure if he's out playing yet or what he's doing or so forth. Not sure. Just going to check it out. Oh, you got some wood delivered, I see. You're going to try to stay warm this winter. Cool. Everything grown up, eh?
Yeah.
Can't even see the truck over there anymore, the
No.
Studebaker. We even got Jim a little bit of breakfast because we got breakfast, and Jolene was kind enough to pick him up some breakfast. Maybe he'll enjoy that, maybe he won't. We have no idea. But the dog just went out the door.
Okay. Dina, get back in, honey.
Fina's got to get back in because he has a cat.
Yeah.
You need a cake?
Come here, Fien. Come on
back
in. Come on in. Get in.
Get back in, come on.
Come on, Fien.
You got a cat, sweetheart.
I know.
Fina.
Get back in, honey. Fina.
You use the walker, maybe?
Get back in, Fien.
You gotta use the washer. Get in there. Get in there. Come on. Get in here. Come on. Fina. Atta girl. Good girl. God bless you. God bless you. I'll take a walk down and see if Jim's in the shop. We'll see what's going on. See if he's around. He's got a trailer on the back of his car. He must be hauling stuff around. Morning, Jim. I see you got some wood.
Actually, this I think was cut and split a month ago, so I don't think I'll be burning it this winter. So
Well,
I
you know,
bought
you never
3.5 cords from a guy down the road,
Yeah.
and I got the little trailer there, and I'm going back forth, back forth, back forth.
I seen the trailer in the back of the car. Jim's got a new look, got a new haircut on, and everything. Buddy.
Yeah, I actually dyed my hair,
Wow.
and it went too dark, and I'm not taking my hat off. It looks fake.
Listen, I don't think mine
Looks fake.
It looks
Here's
fake.
a coffee.
Here's a coffee for you, Jim.
Oh, good.
And we also have breakfast in the car, do we not?
Yeah.
I'll go get it.
Okay.
I'll go get it. Jim, you can keep the camera busy, can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
How's the...
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. The manifolds on 57 are different than 56 because the steering is totally different. The control arms hit the manifold on a 56 motor in a 57, so the motors are kind of the same, but all the parts that bolt on them are different to accommodate the different suspension.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm slowly changing everything off one motor onto the other.
Oh, breakfast, man. I'm gonna go and take a look. You mind?
Yep.
I gotta go and take a look, man. Got your blue car's gone. Is that a big?
Yeah.
Is that a big?
Well, yeah, I didn't lose too much considering I did the work so many years ago.
Right.
But I got more out of it than previously was offered.
There you go. And this is the one you took out?
Yeah, it's not much of a motor. I took the valve cover off because I read up. There's a couple of these that were made as like performance race engines.
Yeah.
And
This is not
one.
it?
No. It has
This is not it.
but anyway, inside the valve cover, it's all sludge.
Okay.
And I needed the oil pan, of course.
Okay.
So because the steering is all different. That oil pan, I had the motor in. No way. There was no way. It was 95% in, but there was no way it was dropping down in place. So I took it back out and took the oil pans off, which are interchangeable, but this one has a bigger base sticking out and it hits the arm going across in the steering.
Okay.
And the 57 has a great big round thing, looks like a filter sticking out the side. And it isn't, it's for extra oil because the oil pan bottom is small
Okay.
to make room for the steering. So anyway, I put steering, but anyway, right now I got the manifolds off and changed one mount. I had 2 or 3 mounts, and one mount I have a good set of rubber brackets for the mount. Out of 3 mounts, I have 2 brackets, and of course they were on different ones, different arms, so I had to cut the bolts off because they're all rusty. But anyway,
Looks
having
good.
lots of fun.
You having fun?
Well, I'm having fun, but my limitation is I'm working on getting everything around the motor hooked up.
Yeah.
I'm not painting the firewall. I'm not worrying about the brakes. Matter of fact, what I think I'm going to do to save myself $1,000 or more, I'm going to hook up the emergency brake. I'm not
Yeah.
going to buy wheel cylinders and a brake master brake cylinder
I hear
for
you.
like $1,000, $2,000, because these are different than any other car, and I'm not really good at modifying. So anyway, if I hook up the emergency brake, that'll be good enough for me driving around the field. Matter of fact, emergency brake, isn't that kind of what you really want?
Yes. Pull you sideways.
You know,
Yeah.
and then hit reverse.
What's going on here? What's this on the manifold? And
This is the 56. I took it off because this means I can run the crossover if I want. The 57 crossover won't work on 56. And I got a good crossover if I want to just cheaply put one single exhaust on.
Yeah.
And so this manifold's a little different. And this,
it's got
it
this
bolts
one.
on. Well, this does too, but this is wider.
Okay.
And now on this one, this is the crucial one. This is the 56, and you see how this pipe here is right close to that?
Yeah.
Hard against the control arms. In 57, they moved the control arms. The control arms and the steering bracket are in a different place because the motor's the same, bolts in the same place. But anyway, look at that pipe, it's back 3 inches.
Yeah.
Anyway, this misses all the steering and the edge of the frame. It's a totally different frame on the 56.
Wow.
The motors are the same, the motor mounts are the same, but the exhaust comes out in a different spot. And this fits on, and I got enough used gaskets, and I'll put gasket slack on it. That's good for like 700 degrees. Anyway, I got this all back together. It's quite a little job putting that in. It's like a dozen bolts, and you got to wrestle with the
cross member.
Yeah, you got to wrestle kind of with the weight of the motor with the jack to get the holes lined up to put the bolts in, and then you got to put your hand up inside the frame to put the nuts. Like it's little.
Little difficult.
No, not difficult, just time consuming.
Okay.
Time consuming.
So you're tapping stuff right now, are you?
Well, I'm just getting ready. There's my bolts, nuts for that.
Yeah.
But the motor, the fuel pump works, and
That's quite a fuel pump for that bad boy, would you?
the thing's been sitting for at least 3 to 4 years,
Yeah.
and it had quite old oil in it, and I drained the oil. Well, I drained the oil, and I also took the filter off. The filter is in one of those old-fashioned cartridge metal things, and the filter's inside.
Yeah.
It holds over 2 cups of oil, and there's no way I could prime that before I put it on,
Yeah.
because I don't know how to prime the pump. So what I did was I put my 4 liters of oil in the oil pan, put my new filter on with the thing all dry because I had no way of holding the oil in there. And then I got thinking, when this thing cranks over, it's going to be a long time before oil pressure gets to the cams and the bearings. And this old oil that I took out, old oil doesn't really stay on the bearings as good as new oil.
No.
Like it breaks down. It's kind of like it wants to get off the bearing.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, I'm gonna shop here in a minute.
No, go for
Anyway,
it.
what I did was I had it up, hooked up on this thing. I lifted it in the air, put a block underneath it, and dropped it down so that the whole motor was on a 90-degree angle, totally sideways, with the manifold down here and the valve cover here. So I put the motor over on its side so the oil would run up.
Okay.
So the oil would run up maybe on the crank.
You could turn it over without
Oh.
having the coil on it.
Yes, I could turn it over, but I didn't want to go rrr and have it run
Yeah.
with no oil pressure, right? So I tipped the motor over on its side, and then I put the bar on the front of the motor and I cranked it over a few times. Then I picked the motor up totally and flopped it over totally 100% on the other side and turned the motor over a couple times. And then I sat on the, brought it back up straight. And then I sat on a stump and just cranked it over with my power bar for half an hour.
Half an hour.
Half an hour, just like smoke cigarette, drink coffee, just half an hour, just by hand. And it moved good. No squeaks, no chirping or anything. It moved good. And then I took the little drain plug out of the filter and oil poured out. So I put it back in. So I know my oil pump's working. And I believe I got oil pressure because by turning it totally upside down, sort of, that got oil up on the crank, and then when turning it over, it would run all in around the bearings because they're not sealed. And that got oil in the bearings, so I could crank it over to get my oil into the filter and up to the head.
Cool.
Because the first time I cranked it over, after I drained everything, I went like that, and I could hear chirping noises, like chirp, 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 chirp. And I'm familiar with that. That's the sound of dry bearings. The connecting rods, not only do the connecting rods need lube, but they need to fit the circle. The oil fits the circle,
Yeah.
right? When you have no oil in there, you get chattery. One connecting rod will take the strain, the other one goes chomp, chomp, chomp. Anyway,
Did you get rid of it? Did it get rid of it?
Yes.
Okay.
As
cool.
soon as I turned the motor upside down a couple times and cranked it over, that chirp gone, it was gone, and it turned over nice and easy.
Oh, good.
And so I just sat there and I cranked it over. So I have no idea if I started it with no oil, I would have burned a bearing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it any good.
Well, good. That means you're getting further ahead.
And what a job putting the transmission on. It's got 30 bolts. It's a wet clutch. Or a wet, it's a torque converter, bolts on the flywheel with caulking. With well, I used the right stuff. It's $40 a tube at XL, but it's guaranteed to seal. Like
Okay.
gasoline, oil, nothing touches it. It's better than silicone. So anyway, I smeared that on. It took me like 2 hours. Oh, that was fun. I was wrestling with the transmission on blocks or on a jack, and the motor was kind of sitting there, and I had trying to line up the pin in the middle, like the lineup, whatever that's called.
Drive with output shaft or input
Yeah,
shaft?
yeah. Anyway, I had it as straight as I could see, and I was 2 hours wobbling that back and forth and around, and no way would it go on. Then one of the blocks fell out from underneath the front motor mount, and the motor went on a slant. Oh no, I'm going to be here all night. And I grabbed hold of the motor and pulled it back, wiggled it around, and just whoop, right on.
Slid right in.
It slid right in, right on the two dowels. So I held it and grabbed a couple bolts. And anyway, it wasn't my skill and patience that did it. It was total fluke.
Well,
Like,
you were gonna
I
say,
just pulled it up and whoop, right on. So I was happy. And then I spent the next couple hours putting in those 30 bolts and going around and torquing them. And anyway, and I got 3 carburetors. So I should be able to
Make something
I
work.
should be able to make something work, and they're all the same. Each one has totally different linkages on it, though,
Yes.
but same carburetor.
Cool. Are you going to want that motor out of your way?
No, it's not in my way, but I don't. It's not. It's your motor, but I am stealing a lot of things off.
You steal away. Whatever get you going, man.
But,
You steal away. Was it a hard time to get your Studebaker out? Was it hard to get
No.
it out? Just roll right.
No, we moved the junk. That was a little hard time.
Okay.
Moving the junk. Then we just pushed it back about 6 feet, turned the wheel, and it pulled right out.
Perfect. Sold it to Bill.
Crosby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a good
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
84 years old.
Yeah, still giving her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's
still
not
going hot,
really
right?
the healthiest person either.
No.
But
Well,
anyway, he's inspired. He
Good.
said his wife even liked the car. He said, this is the first car I ever brought home that she actually smiled and walked around and liked it.
Oh, wow.
Because usually he brings home total junk and builds them, right?
Gotcha. We'll see him around
But,
this summer then.
I did a lot of work on that car for nothing, but that's kind of what some of our past is all about.
You just got to let it go sometimes,
Like,
have you
I
not?
spent 25 years in bars for added up to nothing too. and, and I also spent 20 years driving wide open on motorcycles and cars and got away with it. So is that for nothing too? Like where do we justify what something's worth when time's gone by?
Yeah. We're doing a bit of purging over at home too. We got a container over there and we're chucking some junk in it. And we're probably
And some things you know you want to keep.
Well, yeah,
But they
chucking
just
it
take
anyways.
so much room and
Yeah.
space and clutter.
I just want to get rid of it so it's not in my brain no more.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of it. Just purge a little bit, make it feel a little better. We get an open shop now. It's opening up a bit.
Yeah, the car looks good from over there.
Yeah.
For the first time, like I couldn't see it. Like when I built the car, I was cramped in here in the wintertime, and I had no way of standing back to eye anything.
You have to do that, don't you? Stand back and eye.
Yes, and I didn't even know what it was supposed to look like. Really, I had to kind of make it myself. But
That's good. It's growing up out here, the trees and stuff, eh?
yeah,
Some green.
yeah,
Everywhere is green.
yeah. It
Gotta like that though.
that might be bigger than just here, but right here is where we see it.
Yep.
But I have an idea it's greener here than in a lot of places.
Well, I'll tell you one thing right now. As you drive through Nova Scotia, there's going to be a point in time when there's so many trees on the power lines that they're going to have a big problem. A big
Yes,
problem.
they're gonna our electrical bills are gonna double.
You got that right.
Because
Because
we're
you're going to
gonna
have to clean it
have to
up.
hire thousands of people to cut the trees back.
You got that right. Everywhere you go, the trees are hanging on the power lines.
And we
You
pay
got
for that.
Huh?
Like they don't, they do it for profit. So if they have to spend $1 zillion on tree removal, we're paying for it.
You got that right.
And they'll just grind them up.
Yeah.
You know, they won't cut them and make any use out of them.
Yeah, you got some room now. Look, you can go back to work on that motorcycle.
Maybe, I've been thinking.
Have ya?
Yeah.
He's getting to see it a little bit better,
I
right?
bought that thing, it's an 05, 1100 Yamaha. I bought it in 06. It's got 11,000 kilometers on it. It was slightly smashed. I bought it on Christmas Day in 2006, and it was 27 degrees, and I drove it home, and middle of winter time, Christmas Day, and it was 27 degrees. First time in history, I think it was ever that hot. And I pulled it in here. The first thing I did when I got off the bike was I grabbed my wrenches and my mini grinder. I unbolt the back fender and cut the frame off it. And threw all that in the junk pile. And then I parked the bike here, and it's been sitting there ever since. It's been sitting there for 17 years
Wow.
or 16 years.
Yeah.
I had to take the tank off and put tank coat in it because it rusted, and I cleaned up the carburetors and soaked everything with oily Varsol when I put it back together, so hopefully it won't stick.
Yeah.
But that's as far as it got.
There you go. There'll be another purge right there, probably, eh?
Well, I want to totally customize it,
Yeah.
make it look sort of old, like an
it's
old
cool looking,
Indian or
yeah.
something, and kind of rustic. But that's why I want to get rid of the back fender. I
didn't know you had a Volkswagen. Is that a Volkswagen engine?
Yeah.
I didn't know you had a Volkswagen engine.
I actually didn't either until we moved some of the junk away.
Are you serious? You didn't know you had it?
I thought I did, but I wasn't exactly sure.
Cool. Well, it's good to see you got your motor in your car. We're just working away on the truck, and I just haven't got away from it.
It's starting to, there for quite a while, oh my lord. Everything you ground it and cut off, oh my lord. But it's starting to shape up as a something now. And when you look them up on like the internet, there's a lot of different designs people do in those cab overs.
There is. Yeah. And I think
I think you got the first Mercury though.
maybe, but it's just having fun. You know what I'm saying? It's what my brain's telling me to do, and
I haven't had this thing out for a few days. I'm trying not to drive it too much because I figure if more I drive it, more chances of someone running into me. So I try not to drive it too much, but it's
how can
the
you not drive?
electronics are starting to free up. It ran good before,
Yeah.
like when, like a month or two ago, and it runs totally different now.
Better?
Better, but it ran good before, but
Yeah.
now it runs even better. When
Good.
you hit the gas, before it would seem to be screaming at $4,000.
Yeah.
Now it goes right up to 7 and it sounds the same. It's the tack is different.
Okay.
It also idles lower, but says it's 1,000 when before it was screaming at 1,000. And also, it's crisper. It runs good. I think what it is the computer is getting better readouts from the electronics
Yeah.
and making things work the way they're supposed to. When before a couple things weren't working just right.
I'm thinking you driving it's helping it.
Yeah, I think so.
The more you
Yes.
drive, the better it'll be.
Yeah.
You know, do it in my mind. We had fun driving 62 this morning. Just nice to get them out and get their legs going, right? Get them working. better.
Yeah.
She's working good then, what you're telling us. That's good. What do you think of that coffee? Any bones in it? You get a bone?
No, I was going to say something, and I already had my mouth full of coffee going down and almost choked.
We go to a Subway in the morning. We go to have breakfast there. $4 you can get a coffee and something to eat. Of course, you can't even go to Tim Hortons and get 2 coffees for $4.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a coffee, something to eat. Subway. We're playing it smart, ain't we, baby? Huh? Yeah, it looks like you got things going on. You would think that was the same engine, would you not?
Well, I foolishly I foolishly assumed
It was.
and didn't even inspect carefully. When basically all I had to do was look at the oil pans, and it was obvious they were different.
Yeah.
And all I had to do to look, I knew the manifolds were a little different, but I didn't notice that one bank being so far ahead.
Okay.
And I didn't realize how close mine was before. and
What
how-
will go in the back here?
What's that, frost plug?
Is that a frost plug there in the back there?
Yeah, there's always a frost plug in the back. And
On the block?
yeah, and sometimes you gotta take transmission off. They're up inside and behind there.
And look at that now. That's all part of the block too. Wow.
But anyway,
You even took the time to paint it. The engine.
yeah. I left the engine's originally green. I left the block kind of green, but I painted the top gold and the oil pan, of course. I cleaned that up, and the oil pan sat so Jesus long. It had an inch of hard sludge, which kept the oil in the motor because it had water underneath the sludge that rotted out the bottom of the oil pan. I had to weld like 5 or 6 patches in the bottom.
in the
Oil pan.
in this one.
Yeah. Like this oil pan's just like new. No rust at all, and not bad in dents. But the other, no, that's a drain. That's a vent for crankcase vent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's a little tube that comes down.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
No one bought your Chevy truck yet?
No, I might keep that and just play with it now that I've got things a little thinner.
Yeah. Your workload's a little thinner.
Yeah, like I'm playing with this. Like I'd like to hear it run, and I also loosened off the fenders and jimmied them ahead a little bit, and I got the door gaps on the
Good.
fenders, and I got the doors to open and close with the knobs.
Okay. Awesome.
So I'm quite
Happy
pleased
with
with
that.
that. Yeah.
I never went in that far. Jolene's looking amazing today.
Anyway,
And there you go.
yeah, look at this. See, that was touching, right?
Yeah.
And also the knob here actually works.
Gee.
And both doors close
Shut like
just
that.
like that.
Well, we didn't get a crooked then.
No.
You didn't get her cooked.
And this whole corner is gone.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to cut it out and fit a new piece.
You think the fella fixing that would have done that?
The fella fixing it, you only got so much happiness to go around, and then other ideas come in where you're happier there than here, so then you jump from there to there.
Well, you know,
Like you ran, like I absolutely appreciate how much happiness you had while you had it.
I took
And I plan on continuing a little bit here to make it so that you didn't do all that in vain. There for a little while.
What does vain mean?
Vain means you work your ass off for nothing and you end up throwing it away. Like Mom said, try not to spend too much money on this Ferrari in case you have to throw it away. That was like 2 years ago.
Try not to.
My entire bank account ago, actually.
Well, you're getting riddled back up now, aren't you? You're getting a little bit.
Well, there was a time when I had this thing in and there was no way the motor was going in. It was hard against the oil pan on the steering arm, and it was hard against the body, and it would not go back and it wouldn't go down. And then,
more or less.
oh, jeez, you know,
Is it the
someone
right engine?
walked in here and took me out of my misery and offered me anything for this. I'd let it go. And then I decided, well, no, I'll pull the motor back out and I'll have... Anyway, a few minutes later, I had the motor back out. And then I went in the house and had a sandwich and coffee, several coffees. Then I came back and Jimmy did up on block so I could take the oil pan off. And then I took that oil pan off and realized that the oil pumps are identical and the oil pans were the only change. So I just went to the work of cleaning up this oil pan and putting it back on. And it holds oil. It's all full now.
Cool.
I had to weld pinholes in it probably 20 some times. And then water brush and clean, hold it up to the sun. Oh, 1, 2, 3 more little pinholes right there.
Yeah,
and bring them back in, like stick a little screwdriver through it or a pin thing, like make them a smidgen bigger, and then come back in and weld them up and then go back out to the sun.
I call that X-raying it.
Yeah,
When
it
the light
worked.
comes, when the light
And
comes
then
through,
when I
it's
put
X-raying.
Varsol in it, of course the Varsol got dirty, but the Varsol did not leak out anywhere.
Well, then you
know,
got it.
and so
Yeah.
it worked. And
You
I figured if
torch
Varsol,
that, you torch weld that, the pinholes
Yeah.
up.
yeah, over and over and over.
Over and over
When
and over.
you with the torch, it's kind of good, but what you have to do at the tail end of your weld, you got to sweep it. You can't just pull your heat away or you get a pinhole right there.
Okay.
You get a really round pinhole. So as you take your torch, you kind of brush it off into the metal, just like that.
Okay, so
and
there's a
then,
pinhole.
yeah, you don't let the circle dry coal in a circle. You kind of feather it out into a point into the cold metal, and that'll stretch the pinhole so it doesn't have a pinhole. Otherwise, every time you stop your weld, you have a little pinhole right there, especially in a pan.
I do that with a MIG welder sometimes when it
Yeah,
pops
you just
back at you.
yeah,
the
you
air
just kind
bubbles.
of drift it off
Yeah.
just a little bit into the metal.
I just
and
now you say that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
It's actually the kind of the same thing. Like the MIG, if I got familiar with it, I'd never pick up a torch again.
Probably not. Well, I wouldn't say that. There's probably lots of times that I probably could use a torch. But
The
never
torch
mind
is
it.
awful nice if you got a metal and you want to form it.
Yeah.
You just heat it up and just push it in with your hammer. You don't even have to hit it with a hammer. You just push it in.
Yeah.
Like it melts in like butter. You know,
I haven't
when
had-
you don't have that ability when you have MIG. You
No,
have
you
to
gotta
have
make it.
things, you got to make it or stretch it. Like even when you fix that one patch where it didn't stretch down there and you had to cut it out and
Yeah.
you spent a little bit of time. If you had the torch and just went like that, you could have melted it right in there and put a crease in it effortlessly and then gone back to your MIG. You know, but, or even a propane torch would have worked.
We'll get the metal hot enough, propane?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, 20 gauge. It wouldn't 16 gauge.
18 is what I use.
You know, yeah, like 18s. If you're running 14 or 16 gauge, that's a little heavy for a propane torch.
Yeah.
But yes. But anyway, I'm having fun. Yeah.
That's good.
But anyway, this you can see how close it is here. That's 56, and that is right where the steering arm is. Like the steering arms hook on. So in 57 they moved it back, so I'm putting this on. But fortunately, everything's identical except for, actually everything's identical where it bolts on, just
Except the
the
throw-up.
anchor.
Yep.
Because the suspension is different on 57. The motor and the mounts are all the same, but
You
just...
think they would have kept somewhat that the same, you know?
No, they didn't.
I know they didn't, but you think
No.
they would have. You know, just being smart because they could use, but then again.
And I got 3 assemblies of these, and these are my only 2 workable motor transmission mounts. All the others, the rubbers are all cracked.
Okay.
So that kind of cheered me up. I was able to.
Well, as far as
pull
that
it
goes, you could, you know, if you didn't have, you could weld it in solid. Huh? We weld a lot of motors in solid. I have. They don't use the suspension for.
Well, one thing, if you don't drive big amounts,
Yeah.
uh,
What's it gonna hurt?
well, all you're going to get maybe is a little bit of a vibration of the motor.
Generally, I find that the suspension of the car,
Yeah.
you know, when you're driving along, takes up for the motor. I'm not sure, but yeah,
But anyway.
everything's going good.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got a brand new motor there.
Yeah.
That'd be a good candidate for a rebuild.
Not really. I think.
Come on, Jim.
Honestly, I think it needs everything.
Well,
I figure it's got 130,000 miles on
and
it,
it's toast.
and it's not in good shape. It's all there. It might. The sludge was that deep in the bottom of the motor, but there was no metal filings.
So,
but it was,
so it was a start and stop.
it was driven a lot in the early days when it was new, right to the junk, and then it sat. And
Well, isn't sludge from starting and just
yeah, cold
stopping?
engine running,
Cold
mostly,
engine
and
start.
not changing the oil.
Yeah. Okay.
And these old motors run dirty anyway. Yeah, there's a, but
That's a dirty motor.
now this motor being rebuilt, when I took the oil pan off, no sludge at all, no dirt, no film, no nothing.
And that one.
On that green oil pan, when I took it off, like to change, I drained the oil, of course, because I had brand new oil in it, and then
Yeah.
I had to drain my brand new oil back into the jug.
Yeah.
So I was kind of careful, and then I, anyway, looked in the bottom of this oil pan after I drained my oil, and it was minimum. It was kind of squirrely black new oil, but there was no sludge in the oil pan at all, 0. So it must be quite a clean.
Well, it's
it
clean
must
as
be
that.
rebuilt.
Yeah.
Must be rebuilt, because even the old Studebaker or the Hudson, semi-rebuilt, or actually fairly well rebuilt, there was enough blow-by and contamination in the oil and the high wear of the older motors in the 30s, like the 39 Studebaker, and the Hudson motor was like designed in 1915, which they kept right straight through. They didn't change them till 48 or 49 or 50 when they made the Hudson Hornet motor. They kept with the old Dipper motor all throughout those years.
I like the Hudson Hornet, the big one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like those. Yeah, good. They just look good. I like
they almost look like slugs,
They do.
don't they? Like
Yeah.
they're almost like the 50, the
Yeah.
submarine look,
Yeah.
big and fat. But
I guess that's in now.
But anyway, the old Hudson motors and the Studebaker motor, like the older ones, when you take the oil pan off, even after 2,000 miles, there's sludge. You wash it out, and there's sludge. Matter of fact, in the Hudson, I put a couple magnets in it, and the magnets always had bubbles of sludge on each end
Oh.
of
So it made
metalware.
it made sludge.
Well, it made sludge, yeah. It was wearing out as you drove, and and it was metal filings sticking to the bed. But on this green oil pan off that motor, there was no sludge. So
Geez, Jim, you should have that chair sitting in it out here.
I should, yeah,
Sit that right by the Ferrari.
yeah.
That looks like a chair for a king. See that?
Well, I carefully swept the dirt up. I had to kind of do it careful because the car was in here.
Yeah.
So I swept. What I did for sweeping, rather than sweep the dirt into a pile, I had my shovel, my broom, and I swept into the shovel and kept moving the shovel.
Yeah.
Like, not move the dirt from there over to here. I just moved the dirt onto the shovel, and then I moved the shovel as I was sweeping. So I I was immediately sweeping. I swept all dirt once onto the shovel.
Gotcha.
Instead of sweeping it 10 times to a pile
Gotcha.
and 90% in the air.
What size engine does Tim want? A 23 horse? 23 horse. You know anybody got a 23 horse engine?
23.
23 horse, like a V twin, like a Honda
Oh.
engine.
No, that would almost be
He's got a little
23 horse. I've never heard that.
little twin Honda. These are used on what can I say? Irrigation pumps or something.
Yeah,
like that,
I was going
or
to say a heavy-duty air compressor would almost be.
It would be quite an air compressor with a 23 horse.
Yeah,
on it.
that's huge because lawnmower tractors are only like 12 or 18.
Yeah.
So, but some lawnmower tractors have V motors, I
Yeah.
think, or at least twins. That would. No, I don't have anything like that.
Well, that's missing. Can't get that one then. Kimmy baby.
No,
Everything's going good though.
yeah, I've been dirty for like a week.
That's all right.
That's one of the reasons. Like, I just got my water pump working again yesterday. So after, I'm gonna play around with this a little bit more, and then maybe turn on the hot water tank and have a shower and do the dishes.
Have a good day.
And then I turn the hot water tank right back off because I don't trust the pump. And
Gotcha.
I turn the water pump off as soon as I fill a couple jugs because I'm still getting air. in
Yeah,
the
it must be a
system.
pain in the ass.
Yeah.
That's
See,
for sure.
the foot valve that stops water from going back is not down in the well. It's right beside the water pump. And it's supposed to be down in the well so it has the weight of the water holding it. And up by the water pump, it's easy for it to leak. And then the water leaks down the well, and after the water pump runs for a week or two off and on, the water running down the well forces air in by the piston, which is not supposed to seal because the check valve is supposed to work to keep the water pressure back so that it doesn't have any pressure on it, right? But where the check valve, it leaks a little bit and it's right beside the pump, it leaks after a week or two. My pump won't go up to pressure and the electric motor just runs all day long and turns red hot and blows a circuit breaker.
Oh, that's too bad. I had a couple of them piston pumps. I went to a jet pump.
Yeah, because
It kept,
you kept
screwing up.
messing with it.
Yeah, I didn't like that going down messing with it.
Constantly. I've had this pump apart several times and I know what it is. It's the check valve's not down in the well where it's supposed to be. It's
Yeah.
up here and it doesn't have quite enough pressure holding it and it gets a little, I don't know, it's in good shape. I take the nut out and it flops back and forth, but it only has to just stay open just the smallest amount. And after the pump runs for a few times
Leaks
over a
back.
week or two, it leaks enough that enough air gets in the pump and then it won't build up pressure. And then it, like, air compresses, so therefore it just goes 25 pounds and just stays there all day long and doesn't get up to the points to turn it off.
Well, me and Jolene have fixed the 62. We've got pressure valve. What's it called again?
Power valve.
Power valve in the carburetor.
Oh.
I changed that. Works like $1 million.
Oh, good, you found the problem.
Oh, I fixed it. Yeah.
Good.
Changed the power. That was easy too, eh? Pull the carburetor off, pull the back of the carburetor off, put a power valve in it, put it back on.
Starting off, you probably had to be shown what the power valve even looked like.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I didn't know what a power valve was until Jolene looked up on the computer. It's really something how.
Oh, it's this thing that
you can
bolts
look on the
right
computer
here.
and find anything you want to find and do it if you want to. Like, I mean, you can even learn how to do body work. Watch that Bad Chad show. They show exactly everything how to do it.
The only thing you do different in your body work than I do is when I do things by hand. I sand my body fill when it's wet. I sand by hand, and I don't wear a mask, but I sand by hand carefully so the dust falls down, not in the air. You use your tools and the dust is in the air.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I can't handle the dust, and I don't like wearing a mask. So I do it by hand. And as I said, my body fill, I sand it when it's wet. I start it when it's gooey, and with old sandpaper. And as it starts to dry, I grab my 50 grit newer sandpaper and scuff it off. Then use wire brush lightly, and I shape it while it's still soft and durable.
Yeah.
Same as seam sealer.
Yeah.
You can sand seam sealer when it's sort of just drying. Sandable.
Okay, well, I've never. I don't
Oh,
usually-
you can form it just like body fill.
Okay. I usually do it with thinner on a rag.
Oh, you can sand it as well.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I just try to smooth. If I smooth out seam sealer, I usually rag in some thinner.
Oh, that's even easier.
And the thinner kind of softens it right up.
And you just rub where you want it off, and it just comes right off and marbles it.
Yeah.
That's sort of like groating, cement work.
Yeah.
Like you put your cement on, then you take like a sponge or a rag and dip it in water and just wipe it, and it'll smooth out. It'll take off the highs and fills in the lows, and then you take another rag and wipe it off the brick.
Sounds like you've done that a couple times.
Yeah, like in showers and stuff.
Yeah.
Rock work.
Oh.
Well, it's called groating, but anyway, yeah, that's good. But anyway, I don't like dust. I have to work in ways that I have to work harder by doing it by hand. You know, because these tools that you use, they get like a week's worth of work done in a day.
You can if you're using
But
power tools.
you're filling your room full of dust.
Yeah. Generally.
Yeah.
I'm generally painting in a sandbox
Yeah.
by the time I'm done because there's so much dirt in the shop that it becomes everywhere, as you know. And we're gonna have a lot of sand and some body fill in the big thing we're building now.
Yeah, you should try to do it outdoors the most you can just to save your health.
I might see if I can get a couple young fellers and show them how to sand mud. That's what I'm thinking. And maybe we'll put it on, bake a cake, just rub it on the whole thing, let them sand. Huh? Sounds like a good idea to me. Must be a couple young fellers somewhere that needs a couple dollars.
Well, there's more chance of them being interested in hanging around you than working on a farm, picking strawberries or weeding.
Maybe.
There's no way they'd go to a farm and bend down their knees all day in the hot sun, pull weeds out.
Well, that's what I used to do
Or
when I was
picking
younger.
potatoes, but they'll come maybe help you. But
There's no more picking potatoes around here, is there?
there is where I used to work.
You can
but,
still pick potatoes?
They do, yes, by
Oh,
hand.
wow.
Yeah, they got a machine that goes through and puts them on top of the dirt, and then
Yeah.
you go along with a bucket and pick them up.
I didn't
But
know they still done that. There's always potato harvester before.
I know. Yep. I've been staying away from the place.
You don't want nothing to do with that farm work.
I found the regular staff doesn't have any enthusiasm in their day, and I find that a little tiring. Like,
Get you down.
yeah, I can't support the whole group. You know what I mean? Like,
If you're too busy, you can't put the plan in. I'm not covering it up.
you know, and if you're at a farm working, you have to be inspired, or it's a long day.
Yes, you do, don't you? What?
You know, and well, any job, you
Yeah.
have to make it inspiring, or it's going to beat you up. Like,
True. Daily process.
yeah.
I got your seat, Jim.
Nope.
Nope.
This is better anyway. It's higher. Anyway, I'm kind of pleased. Everything. I believe I shouldn't have to go. I should be able to use these gaskets over again.
Yes.
They're all there, and I got this stuff, which is good for 700 degrees. It's old gasket slack.
Even if she does, leak a little bit, it just makes sound better.
Yeah, I know. I almost should leave the gaskets off because that way I'll get that bang, 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 like that Christina sound.
Yeah. I can see when you're doing stuff, you can see the amount of work that you have to do, like when you lug in all the 2x8s.
Oh, geez, I had to use come-alongs
Yeah,
hooked
see all
up
the
to the
work.
back of the barn to pull this unit ahead because when the motor transmission on it, you can't push that. It won't push.
You use come-alongs to pull the
Yeah.
engine in. Wow.
I could not push it on those planks. Those wheels don't have bearings in
Yeah.
them. And even when we took the motor out, we had to hook a chain to the front of that old truck around the corner and use come-alongs to pull it out. Can't pull this unit on these boards. You cannot pull it. You have to hook come-alongs on it to pull it back and forth.
Wow.
It goes up and down good.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be careful going down. If you turn that knob a little too fast, the motor just drops right down to China.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
But you can baby it anyway. You just turn a little tiny bit and it'll just inch it down.
Yeah.
And
I've
then
already-
use come-alongs and drag it back.
I've done that a couple times. Messed with it.
But my
Messed up.
floor was uneven, right?
Yeah.
Like my floor, well, it took me half a day just lugging junk
I see that.
boards in just to make a platform for it to run on because the floor was so uneven.
Well, I just know that with the motors over there and you got this kind of floor, it's hard to move that thing.
You can't. I used that little dolly wheel
Okay.
to move the motor over. I did not use this thing. That's strictly for in and out of the motor and use come-alongs. It wasn't to transport the motor over. I
Okay.
used the dolly. Same as this. So I'll be using the dolly to get it over here for a truck. But where Oldsmobile seems to be so refined in exactly the only things that work on this motor,
Yeah.
you will have to find quite a bit of stuff like the transmission. Nothing else will fit, but probably 56 or 57 transmissions.
Is that right?
Like, I don't know any facts about it, but I believe the guy that took that motor out of the 56, I believe he put a 425 or 27 or something in the 70s rebuilt motor in it,
Yeah.
and it bolt right up. So maybe some of the newer V8s and transmissions are interchangeable.
Maybe.
But there'd be lots of people that could tell you. But this motor would, it needs, I believe, too much. But it is a 371.
It is what it is.
It is that's a 324. It's a smaller motor.
Okay, that's a 371.
Yeah. Yeah. They did make 371s in 56.
Okay. Learning something every day.
Yeah. But anyway, that may be a slightly smaller motor, but I believe it's rebuilt, like the guy said, and no sludge in the oil pan is a really good sign.
Yeah.
Like no sludge, zero. There was nothing I poured out, when I took the oil pan off, the oil looked clean enough that I took the top off my oil can and poured 80% of it into my oil.
What kind of oil are you using?
Oh, 10 weight 30.
Are you?
Yeah.
I generally put in that 540 Rotella.
Oh, so it's cold. It's runnier when it's cold, and it goes thicker when it's hot.
I think it has something in it for the camshafts.
Oh, okay.
It has something in it for the camshafts so they don't wear out.
Mm-hmm. Because oil change, the oil is usually $30, and if you get it on sale, you can buy top quality oil for like $30.
Yeah, and then if you wanted to take it to a shop, they'll change your oil for $30.
I know.
And they pay for the oil. And they do the work. It's
Yeah.
weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although not all shops.
Not all
you
shops.
gotta shop around.
That's for sure. Just like Zellers, you got to shop around.
Like on that Ferrari, in my travels over the last couple of years, talking to different mechanics and garages around this area, they all made it sound pretty careful. They all, actually, every single person I talked to, except for maybe one, all said, well, more than capable, but you'd have to bring it in here, and I'll have to learn my way through it. And,
Yeah,
I couldn't hire somebody to
You can't
teach
pay for
them.
trial and error?
I can't. Yeah, but I can't. I couldn't pay for someone to learn how to.
That's basically
work
what a
that
lot of
car.
people do. That's basically what a lot of people do.
You
They
know
proceed
your
to it.
stuff. I'll pay for your labor to fix it.
Yeah.
But I can't pay the labor for you to learn.
So they
Because
do
it,
that-
oh my Lord, took me 2 years just to do. Well, I would have been way ahead if I just bought everything in the gas related items. Every single item should have just been bought brand new,
Replaced.
all at once, replaced, and just put everything else on the shelf and then gone from there, because I ended up in the end chasing problems. As I fixed things, other things came into play because this thing overpowered that because this problem was bigger.
Yeah.
But when I fixed that, then all of a sudden I got this problem. And then I fixed that, and then all of a sudden some other problem kicked in because the other problems were bigger. But anyway, in the end, I replaced everything, and now the car runs.
Well, you didn't do your work in vain. You didn't have
I
to throw it
should
away.
have bought everything new right from the start and put it in. Assumed it was bad, bought it, spent the money, and tuned it up from there.
That's the way that, not everybody did. I
And-
wouldn't have done that.
No, and on a normal car you don't.
No, I wouldn't
But I
have.
think on a Ferrari you do.
That's the kind of Ferrari.
Yeah.
Who knew? You had to buy everything
Especially
new.
things
for a
sat with
Ferrari.
old gas for 10 years,
Yeah.
right? You know, and that just wrecks stuff.
I have a couple cars I haven't started in a couple years. And I'm
If you have a good spot where they're not sweating, gasoline, like in a jug,
Yeah.
will last 3 or 4 years in a good environment.
Yeah.
But in the bad environment, 6 months, it breaks down, it stinks. So if things are staying dry, you have a chance that it'll last a little bit, but you really should put a little gas preservative in your gas. And you should also, your last tank of gas, last time you put gas in it, should be high test, because ethanol is in low test, and ethanol is what kills, that's what kills the gasoline, is the ethanol.
I don't buy anything.
Ethanol
except-
sitting, in no time at all, your gas has turned sour because of the ethanol. So put high test in your last tank of gas. Like if you're getting close to empty and you know the car's going to sit for a year, put $20 worth of high test in it, and that's no ethanol, and that gas will last way. That's almost old-fashioned gas,
Yeah.
because low test is ethanol.
I don't use anything other than high test.
Oh,
Even in the
that-
lawnmower. It's just not worth it to me to buy shitty
okay.
gas.
Well, you don't have that problem then.
No, not having that
Well,
problem.
you might have a chance that your gas lasts.
Maybe.
Now my lawnmower, I run the cheap gas, and it sits for a year, and then I start it next year. But if it sat 2 years, it would ruin the gas tank.
Yeah, we just run good gas, don't we, baby?
Yeah.
We just run good gas. Well, this is a good visit with Jim. We're just sitting here going over the Oldsmobile. This is the Oldsmobile that we put the rockers on for Jim. He told me not to work on it unless I was having fun. When I had enough fun, I sent it home. Now Jim's having fun, and sometimes he's not here.
Well, I wasn't having fun once I realized that
Everything
the
had to be
motor was
changed?
not going in with that oil pan.
Okay.
And I wasn't too impressed. I even swore a couple times. But then I decided, well, I'm not going to work down there. I'm not going to modify the oil pan down there.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? No matter what I bend, it won't be enough. So I'm just pulling it back out, and I'll start again. So I pulled it out, right zip out, and I hooked up my come-alongs and pulled this back and had it out. And then after I calmed down, I came out and I took the oil pans off, and that's where I saw the blessing that yes, they'll change.
Yeah.
But then when I cleaned up the sludge and beat out the dents, I had holes everywhere. So I had to spend
bit of work. Yeah.
I had to spend quite a bit of time back and forth welding that in, but.
But yeah, so Jim's doing his car. We're playing on the old Mercury there. We're putting the 36 Ford on top. That's what kind of inspired me, playing with Jim's car. I wanted to do something like that. Just play. Jolene said it was okay. And that's where I went.
I'll eat my breakfast here in a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll turn the camera off and let you have your breakfast. Cheers, everybody. Just want to check in on Jim. Jim's one of the people that we like to come visit and see. And I hope you liked the video. Have a good one, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.